Welcome to the Daily Show. Hello, people. Hope all is well with you. And yes, tis the season. As you see my Santa Claus hat, I want to point out y'all been talking to me like after Thanksgiving is over, it's Christmas for me. Okay, so it's officially the holiday season. I don't care what y'all gotta say. It's Christmas for me, so I don't care. But anyways, appreciate all the love you guys been giving me lately. I've been having a lot of fun the past couple weeks. The stories and the people we've been talking to just been so extraordinary, and I'm loving that I've been able to share them with you guys, and you guys are loving what we've been talking about and what we've been producing lately. So continue sending your love to my way and towards my guests. But without further ado, let's introduce the guest for this week, Miss Brianna Smith. First of
Thank
all, I want to say thank you for coming on, and how's everything going with you right now?
It's good. Stressed, of course. Finals are coming up,
Hmm.
so this is like a rough few weeks, especially because we're finishing up fall training. So stressed, but I'm good.
As well, I can understand that. My first year right now, and just a lot going on, extremely busy the next couple weeks, so I can definitely understand where you're coming from. Um, Brianna, for the people that may not know a lot about yourself, do you mind giving them a brief overview about who you are, talk about where you're from, some things you've been able to accomplish to help you get where you are today, and just things about yourself that maybe we can get a quick overview about who you are.
Yeah, my name is Brianna. I run track and field at Duke, and I'm a heptathlete, meaning I do the heptathlon and the pentathlon, which are multi-events. I'm originally from Philly, and I've lived there my whole life, and then came to North Carolina 2 years ago. I'm a junior in school now, and some things I've done. My team has been able to win the ACC championship two times. We won once outdoor, once indoors, and hopefully might win again this year. Personally, I've been an All-American twice in high school. Um, Also, I'm an ACC champion in the high jump from last year. Um, Placed in the ACC, been all ACC a few times in multiple events, whether it was heptathlon, pentathlon, or high jump. Um, yeah, I have a few records when I was younger too in different events for USATF. And yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool because, you know, I've been doing this for years now, and I haven't got to talk to a track and field athlete in a long time. And when I started, that was a really big focal point of my first season, and I was chatting with people that UT, Texas Tech,
Mhm.
UCLA, and they were training for Team USA as well. And I feel like you guys are a different tier of athletes. The work that you guys put in is a lot different than other sports, and it doesn't get the attention and recognition that you guys deserve. So I want to give you your props really, really quick for what you do because, again, I just don't feel like track and field athletes get the this recognition and respect that they deserve. So I want to give you your props for that real quick.
Thank
Um,
you.
Man, talk about Philly. What was it like growing up there? Because I personally, I'm not from Philly. I'm from the South, but I love Philly. I've been before, and it's a different environment, but it's real wholesome to me. Talk about Philly, and how did you get into track and field? When did you start running, and was it a quick love? Did it take a while to kind of fall in love? When did you get into it? How was Philly?
So I love Philly, especially being like just, like near a big city and everything was definitely really important for me growing up. Like having a lot of friends, having access to like everything I needed to do. It's definitely been a big change being in Durham, North Carolina
Yeah,
versus being in
yeah.
Philly because there's not really the closest big city is Charlotte, which is 3 hours away. So that has been a big adjustment for me. And of course, I always love where I come from, but it has been nice to be somewhere different. Like the people down here are a lot nicer for sure. That Southern hospitality does hit different. And just being exposed to a different kind of just a different kind of vibe. But I will always love Philly. Like it will always be a special part of my heart. Like I love when I go home and get to just like see everybody. Like it's just a good environment for me. I live about like maybe like 30 minutes from Center City, which is like the really like the heart of Philly where like
Hmm.
skyscrapers and everything like that is. Um, I started running track when I was 8 years old. Yeah, I ran for a team called the Only Eagles, and that's how I first got into it. just because I used to play a bunch of different sports. My mom would always put me in sports, and I would usually play for a little bit and then quit them because I didn't like them.
Yeah.
So track was the first one that I played, or I ran track and I actually liked it. So my first year running track when I was 8 years old, 8 or 9 years old, I made it to the Junior Olympics in the 800. And that's when we kind of knew that like I was pretty good because it's my first year out there and I made it to that. Which is like when you're that age, that's basically like the highest competition that you can do is the Junior Olympics. So from that age, I was kind of doing like distance running and stuff. And then when I was about like maybe 11 or 12, I started getting to more other events. I started doing high jump, long jump, hurdles, and high jump really was the first event that like really clicked for me. Like, I started doing high jump and I would like beat the competition by like a whole foot, and it was like kind of crazy. I won like my first national title in high jump when I was about 12 and won a lot
Wow.
more national titles in high jump after that. And then when I was 13 or so, that's when I got into the multi events. And at that age, it was the pentathlon. And the pentathlon had the hurdles, high jump, long jump, shot put, and 800. And the first time I did that, we kind of just did it because I already did every event in there except for shot put. So it was like, okay, we might as well just teach her how to do shot put. And I did it for the first time. And think I got like fifth or sixth at Junior Olympics. And then eventually after that, I started winning national titles in that too. So then that kind of stuck. And then at a certain age, like 15 or 16, you start doing the heptathlon, which is every event I just said plus javelin and the 200. So I really love multi events. Like when I first started doing it, it really was just like it really stuck for me because I'm like a thinker. I've always been a thinker, and multi events really they demand you to think and like strategize in a way that I think like singular events don't. And like I've always loved the fact that you go from event to event, you have to really like you have to switch your mindset like very fast. So when I was probably like sophomore, junior in high school, I started getting recruited by a lot of schools, either to do high jump, long jump, hurdles, or
Yeah.
to be a multi. But I knew that I wanted to come to school to be a multi. So any school that wasn't recruiting for multis, like I was not going to go there. So started talking to Duke like my junior year, took my visit senior year. And as soon as I came, like I knew I was going here. So I signed to do multis here. Like Duke has like a strong history of multis. Like most schools usually only have like maybe two, three per gender for multis, but Duke usually has like four or five, which is like really special because not a lot of schools have that. And that's been really important for me in terms of like just being able to have a really good training group and really getting better. But yeah, so that's how I got into it.
One of the things that I like to talk about and emphasize so much is having a backbone, whether that be family, friends, whoever. Because especially for you guys, as I've learned, that you guys do so much in sometimes a short amount of time that you really kind of on your own at points, and you need that shoulder to lean on when you are having a rough time. Who are those people in your life? Is it family members, siblings, parents, and what have they done and helped you to get where you are today as well?
I think definitely, well, first, I'm the oldest of six, so I have five younger
Hmm.
siblings. And like it's always been important to me because knowing that they look up to me, so I always
Yeah.
got to make sure I'm doing my best, like doing everything I need to do. Because when I'm winning those awards, like getting those trophies, those medals, it definitely means something to them.
Yeah.
Like to see me doing that and know that like they can accomplish big things too. So definitely my siblings have been a big part in like, what drives me to keep going. And then my parents also they've been like really invested in my track career and like just always like getting me everything I need to be able to be the best. Like whether it's my mom taking me to practice, more than one practice, waking up early to take me somewhere, helping me get to this coach, calling these people. My mom has always been like really big in making sure I have everything I need to be the best I can be. And then also not even just when I was younger, but now especially like my teammates, like I really love the bond that I create with all the different teams I've been on, like the different teammates I've had. Like my best friends are literally my teammates from my track team when I was like 12 or 13, and those will be my best friends like for the rest of
Hmm.
my life. So definitely the friendships I've made make it so worth it because like when you're out there training together, the workouts are hard, but it's so much easier when you have someone next to you
Yeah.
like they're doing it too and like they want you to do well and you want them to do well. And then even now, my Duke teammates will also be friends for life. Like, um, in my training group, I have been the youngest for like the past couple years because it's usually like either just older students or transfers. And that definitely has been important for me, like having like older sisters that they will help me like all along the way. Like that really helped my adjustment to college too, because my training partners, like they're there every step of the way. Like they know like what I need to hear, like when I need encouragement, when they need to help me with like different cues and stuff. Like that has really been important for me. And like when you're doing a heptathlon or a pentathlon with your teammates, like there's no better feeling because you all want to encourage each other and just make sure everyone makes it to the end. So those bonds that I've created will always be super important to me and they really keep me going too.
I'm gonna jump the gun here, and then I'm gonna come back because I want to ask you something as well. But when you and I want you to explain this because I want people that may not know how you guys train for certain things, like what goes into it. So like when you're training for whatever difficulty or thing you're training for, what specifically are you doing? Like if you're doing the high jump, like what are you doing that week to prepare for your event? What are you looking at? Like what kind of training do you do, and what goes into those type of things?
So the way that we train here as multis is we usually work on like 2 to 3 events per day, whether we're doing those events at the meet in the weekend or not. So we'll usually maybe start off with like some type of like hurdle reps or something, and then maybe we'll get some running in, like some hard reps of running, and then usually end with like a field event, like maybe we'll do shot put or work on javelin. So it usually does mean working on multiple events per day every single
Yeah.
day. Like there's rarely ever a day where I'm just working on one event. And this is also after that, we usually lift and stuff too. So my training, it can look really different depending on the day because there are a lot of different like drills, exercises that we do. Like if I'm getting ready for a high jump, that could be like working on my approach or even just working on some things to help my trajectory over the bar, different like jumping off a box, stuff like that. If I'm doing long jump, that can mean also approaches or working on my landing, different stuff like that. And then for like our 800 training, those are like the hardest workouts to me. We'll maybe have like repeat 600s or like repeat 300s, just a lot of hard running. And then with hurdles, like maybe we'll do like block start, stuff like that. So like there's a lot of technique work. Technique is like the
Mm.
biggest thing that we focus on throughout the week. And then like our conditioning also is another big focus. But really trying to hone in on the technique throughout the week so that when you get to the meet, like you don't really have to think about it too much, I think is like the most important thing. But our training as multis, it really does look a lot different than most track and field athletes, and it can vary from week to week because when we do have a heptathlon or a pentathlon that weekend, we may not do as much in the week because like it takes a lot out of your body to do a heptathlon or a pentathlon, so you really have to rest up for that. But if we don't have like that big of a demand in the weekend, we could be doing like I said, like 3 events per day, and that's like maybe like 5, 6 days a week. So yeah.
I want to add on to what you just said because I love how you explained it because I feel like people that may not know a lot about it just got a really good description of what you go through. Um,
Hmm.
and I asked this question because I like to share these things with people that are in shoes that maybe you're feeling or just feel, or people that you want to like kind of be inspired by you. What's in a piece of advice that you would give to a young female that is trying to be a collegiate track and field runner? What's a piece of advice that you would give them to try to reach the next level?
Honestly, the biggest thing that I've learned and I feel like that separates people is really having a good motivation and focusing on yourself. Because a lot with like college athletics, especially for track and especially for women, comparing is like a really big issue. Like whether
Hmm.
it's like you're trying to be like your other teammates or do the things other girls are doing, like, or you're trying to do something for your coach's like satisfaction. But I think that will never work. Like once I really started just doing it for myself and for my own satisfaction, and also just realizing that my journey is not going to be the same as anyone else's journey. So like
Yeah.
I got to really just worry about myself. I can't worry about what anyone else is doing. That it changes things so quickly. So really just worrying about yourself, not comparing yourself to anyone else, and then also just making sure your motivation and your reasons come from you and don't come from like anyone else, or like you're not doing it for the awards, but you're doing it for that good feeling that you feel like when you do well or when you improve. Because I know for me, once I started really just focusing on like how much did I get better today? Like how much am I going to get better
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow? Like rather than like, okay, um, maybe like what's my score going to be in this meet? I think it's a lot easier to really focus on the small little wins rather than putting so much pressure on yourself to focus on like the big things. But yeah.
I'm taking my step back now. And you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I really want to know. You had offers from Penn State, Virginia, Princeton as well. What made Duke stand out for you? What was it so intriguing about Duke and their program and their school that made you leave Pennsylvania for a completely new environment?
Mhm. So I think like at first I kind of thought I wanted to stay near the city. Like that's why I took a visit to UPenn and everything. Like because I've, been city all my life, so I wanted to stay near that. But then when I first went to Duke's campus, like it was beautiful. Like the
Mm,
campus is so pretty and it's really just like I feel like it's a good environment. Like all like the whether it's the nature, the buildings, everything is really beautiful. So I already had a good feeling about it when I first came. And then also, like I kind of mentioned already, the training group was a huge deciding factor for me because no other school that was recruiting me had that many multis, except for maybe one, but still the camaraderie and the way that like the multis at this school like stick together is really like it's different. I feel like it's not like that at any other school. Like the heptathletes here, we call ourselves the honey badgers, which is
mm-hmm.
like kind of just like because honey badgers are just really tough and they don't care what anyone has to
Yeah,
say. They're gonna do what they're gonna do.
yeah.
So like kind of stepping into like the legacy of being a honey badger has been like it's been really cool. And then it was something that really I could sense from my visit that like they just have a legacy and a tradition of just like just being great and then also just being there for each other because when you're doing such a hard event you really need that support. Like the schools I went to where maybe they had one or two multis, like I feel like you could kind of see like how like mentally taxing it is to have to go through all that like by yourself and without like a solid group of girls doing it with you. So that was important. And then also Duke is like athletic academics are really important for me. So I want to be a physician scientist one day. So like I definitely wanted to go to a school that I knew I could do that. And I feel like Duke has one of the best balances of athletics and academics.
Mm,
Because some schools I went to, it was just like you're an athlete and like that's it. And then
mm-hmm.
maybe some other schools I went to, you kind of tell that all they cared about was academics and not athletics. But I think Duke has a really good balance of both. Like we have really good academics here, but we also have really good athletics. So you can succeed to the best of your ability in both realms, which has always been important to me because I've always been someone that I want to succeed in the classroom, but also on the track to the same ability. So yeah, I think those were pretty much most of the deciding factors for me. And then also I like the distance. Like I did
Mm,
kind of want to get away. From like just being in the same vicinity as my family because as the oldest it is kind of like different to really be on your own and
yeah.
not have anyone else like to look after or depend on you. So like being I'm about maybe like 6 or 7 hours away drive from home, so being that far but then still not far enough that it's like like I can't visit or anything. So I really do like the distance of it also. And then just getting a different like perspective being in the South too, when I've lived in the North my whole life. But yeah.
Are there any differences or major differences in terms of, just events from high school to college and the training that you guys put in? Like, what are some of the differences that you kind of really recognize once you got into college that from the training and the event styles?
I think first, like something I had to realize my freshman year was like every meet in college is like the caliber of like the national meet in high school.
Yeah,
So like that was definitely a shock to me. Like when I went to my first meet and I was looking at the times and I'm like, wow, like
yeah.
you would see this at like nationals in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So when in high school I was used to just having like not that good competition and then like towards the end of the season good competition, we get to have good competition here all year round. And I think that really has like pushed me to really want to be my best too. And then the workouts, like completely different than what I was doing in high school, or like younger than that. Like they're a lot harder, a lot longer, a lot like more events per day. Like the way I trained for multis when I was younger, I was definitely not doing 2 or 3 events per day. Maybe I would just work on the field events sometimes, but I was mostly just focusing on running. But now we definitely give about an equal amount of attention to every event. So when I'm at practice, I really have to be able to move quickly from one event to the next. Because sometimes, even when we're working on like that type of mental strength, like maybe we'll do a really hard running workout, but then I got to get myself together because we have to throw javelin now. So, like,
Yeah.
stuff like that was a hard adjustment for me at first because, like, if I'm done a running workout, I don't really want to do anything else. Like, I'm tired. I just want to sit here, but you got to go. Like, you got to get up and you got to get to the next thing. So that was something that was a huge learning curve for me. But I think I'm starting to get it down now as a junior, being able to move like from one thing to the next. And definitely like I think you have a lot more freedom in college. Like at least my coach, he's not always going to be the most like he's not going to micromanage you, but he's going to know whether you did what he said to do or not.
Right.
So I think in high school, like it was more kind of like my coach always like making sure I do this, making sure I do that. Whereas now I have to be the one to make sure I'm doing stuff right, or it's going to show in my performance that I'm not. So yeah, definitely that was hard. And then also, of course, like um just I feel like every college athlete probably goes through this, but for me, the lifting was really hard to get used to. Also, like we lift like maybe like 2, 3 times a week as multis when we're really like in our training, we'll maybe lift more than that per week. And I didn't lift a lot before then, so I really had to get used to it, especially because I'm not the strongest person. Like that's definitely not one of my strong points. So really having to after a workout where I just gave my all, having to go in the weight room and then give my all again was something that was really hard for me at first, especially learning the technique and everything. But the longer I've done it, it's gotten way easier. But yeah.
I get the vibe that when you're in an environment like Duke, that everyone around you just wants to be the best at whatever they're doing. And I feel like that would be so motivating for me because I'm around people that are wanting to do the same thing I want to do, but want to do it at the best level ever. What is it like to be around people like that want to be the best, have the same mindset as you? What is it like being around those kind of peers, and what have the coaches and the trainers installed in you that have helped you kind of be able to take your game to the next level?
I think it's definitely like it is a great environment to be in, especially my training group specifically. Like we really do hold each other to a high standard. And it's like even when someone wants to do something like maybe like make NCAAs or something like that, it's not just, oh, I want to do it. It's no, I want us to do it. Like I want us to do it together. Like I want us all to be there at the end of the year. Like I want us to all be on this podium at the end of the year. And I think for me, especially being the youngest in my group, that was a big motivator for me freshman year. Cause it's like I'm not just doing it for myself. Like I want to make these girls proud. Like I want to be able to say, like, I contributed to this team win. I did this. Like the first time we won ACCs, knowing that I scored points to be part of that was something that was so important to me. And it really did make me feel good. And then, like, every day that we're out there training, like, when you're running with your teammates and, like, they're encouraging you, it's like, you know that they want you to do well just as much as they themselves want to do
Hmm.
well. And that really helps. And then I think with the coaches, like, really them just like telling us that like I said, like it is a legacy like of what we have to step into, especially now that we do have 2 ACC titles and we're coming into a year where like we could definitely get more. I know for the freshmen, like for them, it's probably like you see like what's happened here and like we got to keep it going. If you want to be a part of this legacy, you got to work hard. And I think that mindset it's just really important and it can get toxic if it's too much, but I think if you don't feed into it too much, but still remember why you're doing it, that it can be great and just be a big motivator and really just make you feel like you want to be the best if everyone around you is wanting to be the best too. So yeah.
Mariana, what's your day-to-day schedule like? Like, what time do you wake up? When do you have training workouts? When do you have class? Like, give me a breakdown of your day-to-day schedule.
Okay, so it can change depending on if I have labs that day or not.
Hmm.
But we could say that I wake up at maybe like 8 to go to lab by like 9. And then after my lab, I usually have a class or two and then practice. Practice for me can usually be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, and then if we have lift, that too. So then after practice, then go to lift. After lift, if I need to go into the training room or anything like that, or like see nutrition, any of that type of stuff, talk to my coach, that can also take like another hour. So usually practice does take up at least 5 hours of my day. And then after practice, we usually have like something called training table, which is where like the athletes get to eat and everything. And then after that, I usually either have another lab or I have like help rooms, like study sessions, stuff like that. So that's when I'm usually just doing homework all night. So I eat again and then go to bed. So it is kind of like a really packed schedule, which I feel like you know from the fact that it was hard for us to even schedule this.
Hmm.
So my days are usually like from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, I'm always doing
Yeah.
something. There's not much once my day starts, there's not like much rest in between, especially as like a pre-med athlete also.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
my classes and my homework are a lot. So just getting in like that studying time, but also making sure I'm taking care of my body, I'm going to the trainer, like I'm getting my full time at practice, all of that. The schedule can get very hectic, but I really just try to make sure that like when I do have time for myself, I'm taking the time for myself because it's not often that I do have that time.
What's your end goal? Because I know and if you're not thinking that far, I understand. It's just your junior year. You still have a lot of time left. But what's your end goal? Do you want to continue, running track? I know you talked about your major, something that you really, really want as well. What is your end goal in terms of what you want to do for the rest of your life?
So for me, I've been running track since I was 8 years old. So like I think when college is over, I will be done with track. Because like I've really dedicated a lot of time and a lot of myself to track like these past years. So I think it is time for me to dedicate myself to something else. Because like I said, I want to be a physician scientist, and that will include going to med school and getting an MD PhD will which will also be like a lot of years. So I'm in love with science and I do want to really pursue that because sometimes with track, it does kind of hinder me from being able to completely invest myself in like the science aspect or like the school aspect because I can't always take every opportunity or do every single thing I want to do because track is so time consuming. Um, I do have one extra season of eligibility, which I possibly might use for a fifth year. I haven't really decided that yet,
Hmm.
but I definitely don't want to go pro or anything. Like I think I used to want to when I was younger, but then like the older I get, like I love track. I will always love track, but it is time to do something else in my life. So yeah.
Can I ask you, do you have a hidden talent? Are you a good singer? Are you a good cook? Like, is there something good at that maybe a lot of people don't know about you?
Hmm. Hmm. That is a good question. Um, hmm. I can rap.
Okay. And I undoubtedly want to ask you to say something right now, but I'm not going to. Uh, and it really crossed my mind as soon as you said it. I'm not going. I'm not going to put you on the spot like that. I'm not going to. And okay, you say that, and I have a question for you. So what's your music taste like? Who are some of your favorite artists, favorite songs? What's your music taste like?
Okay. I like rap, R&B, stuff like that for the most part. Some of my favorite rappers, I like No Cap, Meek Mill, of course, from Philly.
Hmm.
Gunna, I like Lil Uzi. And then for my R&B vibe, I maybe like Brent Faiyaz, Summer Walker, Ari Lennox. I do really love music though. I listen to a lot of different types of music. Like there's not many types of music that I don't like, except for maybe like country or like something like that. But I do really like different types of music. And
Is
that's
there?
also that's helpful for track because the way that I get into my zone is listening to my music.
I was gonna ask you that. Like, and I feel like athletes have like something they listen to on a regular, but then when they get ready to for an event or a game, there's something completely different. So I feel like there's always something different for that. I also want to ask you another off the real question. If you could have dinner with three people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Um, Nina Simone, I think
Okay, I
because
like.
like, yeah. I just feel like there's a lot going on in her head, and I would love to
Mm-hmm.
know, like, really, like, after just like learning about her and her life and everything, and some of her ideals, like, I am just curious to just really see, like, what was going on. So I think that would interest me. Um, who else? Hmm. I'm honestly gonna say Lil Wayne, because also he's someone that I think has a really interesting life, and I would love to hear it like from him rather than like, through like media and stuff like that. Like I
Yeah.
know he's had a really like rough life, and I feel like I would like to hear what he has to say. And then lastly, um, hmm, hmm, hmm,
Wow, I like being
hmm.
like,
Honestly, I think the last person would be anyone that's like an ancestor of mine that's been through like slavery. I would want to talk to them too.
wow.
Yeah.
I like that, and I say this because I get a different answer every single time I ask someone these questions. And Nina Simone, that really just stood out to me. And I love your ancestor question, your ancestor answer as well. So I feel like when I ask these questions, they're also bringing like a bit of about who you are and what you kind of love and want to learn about. So I love your answers for that. I want to ask you. It's something I always ask before I like to wrap up things. And it's two questions in one. And what's one piece of advice you would give to anyone at all? It doesn't have to be about what you do or anything. Just one piece of advice that you've learned that you want to give to other people so they can hear and maybe use it and learn it as well. Um, and also, what's a legacy you want to leave behind? I always talk about legacy because it's so important to me. What's something that you want maybe people to know about Brianna Smith that maybe you didn't get to talk about or exemplify so much?
Hmm. Okay, for advice, um, I think for advice, something that I've learned and then still learning now is how you feel about yourself affects every aspect of your life, whether you think it does or not. So I feel like any issue that I have, whether it's mentally, like any of that, it starts from how you feel about yourself. So like working on your relationship with yourself, I think is the most important relationship before like you can really pursue or do anything with anyone else or in any other realm of life. Just working on you and yourself and how you love yourself. Do you like yourself? Any of that stuff, I think that is like just the most important thing in any aspect of life. And then for my legacy, hmm, I think I really want I've always had just like a really like overactive brain, I think. Like I'm
Yeah.
such a thinker, like um I like to logic things out, like I like to come up with new ideas, like I always have a million questions and I want to use one of these million questions to like help people. Like I want to be able to ask a question, answer that question and have that be like something that can help people like just going on. So, yeah.
I love that. Um, Honesty and authenticity. And I appreciate you for sharing that with me so much. Um, I want to ask you one more thing. Um, Free time. What do you do in your free time? What are some of your hobbies? What do you do to get your mind away from track and field?
Hmm. Okay, like I already said, I like to listen to music a lot. I like to hang out with my friends. I like to watch movies. I love movies. Watching movies and then also like I said, I like to rap, so I do like to watch like freestyles and stuff like that on YouTube. And I like to read also. Like I don't have as much time for it now with
Hmm.
being in college and everything, but I'm a bookworm. I do like to read, but I love fiction mostly. But yeah.
You give me very much old school vibes, and that's something that I got from my mother, but I get that vibe off you.
Mhm.
Um, Brianna, if you're willing to share your social medias so people can follow you, anything, or could you share your platforms with them?
Yes. Okay, my Instagram is breezy, BREEZY .sm, and then my Twitter is AVO Breeze, AVO underscore BREEZE.
Any shout outs you want to give to anyone?
Um, hmm. Shout out to gang on my track team. They know who they are. So yeah.
Brianna, thank you so much. We've been trying to get to schedule this for like 2 weeks now, and it's been really hectic with your schedule and mine. So thank you for continuing to work with me and coming through it, man. I say this because I just talked to someone from my last interview. Man, I just love what I do. I love giving people an ability to hear people's stories and learn from it, but I also love giving people a platform to share their stories, their journeys, their wisdom a little bit, and have a little bit of fun. So I hope I was able to do that for you, and I really did enjoy you.
Yes, thank you. You have some really good questions. You even made me think. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate that. And first off, I want to give love and blessings towards you and the rest of your career. And whatever you decide to do, we are 10 toes behind you at all time. And again, thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening and tuning in. Man, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Um, something I'm going to try to do is get more track and field athletes back on the show. It's been a very, very long time, and I used to do that a lot. Like, I think maybe one third of the first season was track and field athletes, and I think you guys enjoyed that. I'm gonna try to bring that back as best of my ability. So I appreciate Brianna for that as well. That might bring a little thing back for me. So thank you guys for listening, tuning in. Continue being blessed, and happy holidays. Stay safe, you guys, and all love. Thank you.